And I'm going to just quickly recap what we were up to 3 weeks ago of what we showed you. First off, we showed you that an institution user can conduct a student change in status or scholastic standing. We showed you the student welcome screen, income validation with CRA, and the capability to choose a new application. And there's all those other applications that we've been working through this past sprint. The UX UI team showed us the ministry user sitemap, where we're headed with ministry users, and our plan for usability testing. And the team said goodbye to Andrea, who's gone off to work on another project with environment, forestry. I can't remember, another ministry. I have 2 other quick updates for you. Going down to our sprint here. We've officially welcomed Lisa LaPrade to our team full-time. We loved her work with some of her detailed analysis on workflows and business rules that we were like, can you just come and join us full-time? So thank you, Caitlin, for sharing Lisa with us. And then also we welcome Lynn. Lynn has been on this project for a while, but we had to share her. And now she's full-time on our project. She's drank the Kool-Aid, and we're so thrilled to have her full-time on this project as well. With that, I'm going to pass the mic over to you, Elise.
Great, thanks. So this is our demo for Sprint 19. Folks will recall a couple sprints ago we moved to 3-week sprints, so that's why there's so much that we're trying to show you in a short period of time. So this sprint was focusing on continuing to make sure we're going through each one of the programs to make sure that we have the business rules correct, so that we make sure we're calculating as accurately as possible in advance of testing. Starting to think about that MSFAA, really focused on the back end now, starting to get to that disbursement, make sure that it all happens. We've been building some stuff on the student side of things, which we're going to show you today about restrictions, the parent partner solution, editing applications, some of the notice of assessments and minor changes that we've been working on. Lots of work happening now on the ministry user side of things. So most of that's still in design, but we are going to show you today the welcome page for the ministry user, as well as how a ministry user would search for a student account. The UX folks have been continuing to work on institution usability testing, which really looking forward to sharing some outcomes with you today about that. And also working on some of the disbursement. We are nearing completion of design of all of the suggested improvements for from the EPI project. So big thanks to Haley and team for all of their support on that. And we've also started working on designing the other applications. Not all of them. We've currently not designed as of yet the tuition waiver /EAF. So that'll be in the next sprint. But we are looking forward to showing you the approach we're hoping to take for the loan forgiveness programs. There's a couple of things crossed out here because we just didn't get to them. So we had thought we would get to it, but just didn't have enough time. So just so you know. There's some business context I want to go over, and just to say as well that there's lots going on, lots of change happening. There's lots of decisions being made from a business perspective, and lots of input that we're looking for as we make those decisions. So we want to make sure to keep you informed, as well as make sure that those decisions are transparent to you. So lots of conversation. But I did just want to remind folks that when we as a project, so it's not just me, it's the whole project group, are making decisions, we are using our principles, and we use them a lot, particularly things like the idea of citizen-driven self-service. So sometimes when we're trying to make some of those difficult decisions, we go back to these and say, okay, well, what does our principle tell us? Data-driven, how can we simplify? of course, where we can align processes. And sometimes we have to make decisions because it's about sustainability and some of the technical pieces. So just a reminder for folks, because we haven't looked at those for a while. So I know that the last week or so we've had some difficult discussions and there's been some differences of opinion, and just really appreciate that folks have been willing to share their thoughts and their concerns and continue to be focused on the student experience. And so at this point, we are continuing to move forward with the decision to enable students and to provide parent and partner information. So we're going to show you that today. And this is if a parent or partner cannot sign in and provide it themselves. But we're really looking forward to showing you today how does a parent or partner sign in and provide their information themselves when they've authenticated using the BC Services card. We're continuing to work on the BC Services card as the primary approach for students to access the system, as well as the use of the Business BC EID for institution users. And I know there's been a lot of discussion about that, but that is the approach that we're continuing to use, and have been double checking and making sure that that's the right approach that our project board has wanted. And so we've been raising some of the risks that you've brought forward to project board, so folks are aware of some of the risks, because with some of our decisions, there are some risks associated with that. We're also working on digitizing the applications for the other in-scope applications. So specifically the two loan forgiveness programs, the tuition waiver program, YEEF, and the interest-free application were the other ones that we've started working on that. And just to clarify that as we're working on some of those, we didn't get to all of them this particular sprint, but we are very, very intentionally keeping our focus to just the application. That's what's in scope for the MVP. So there will not be a lot of changes to the back end processes for a lot of those applications. And we do plan on continuing to use SFAS and ICI for some of those systems. So for folks that work on those applications, we can talk about those a little bit more and what that means for you. So just a reminder again, please let us know if you're seeing that there's definitely spelling mistakes. There's definitely wording to be changed. But as much as we can, hopefully you're starting to see that main road as much as possible. So so thanks so much for that feedback. And without further ado, let's get into showing you some cool stuff.
I'm on mute. Right off the gate, we're going to show you the parent partner solution. Andrew Signori has been working on this for the past 3 weeks. It's a big, juicy one. Take it away, Andrew. I can't hear you if you're talking.
No, I was warming up. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So we are going to show today like the partner. The solution works for parent to partner. We are going to show like application today just for the sake of demo application to parents on that, and how the parents would be providing the information that we are calling support information. So let's start just with a student. We are on the student portal, okay, student application. And there is an application already in Drafty. I'm gonna just show the change. So when a student is providing information and the student is independent with parents, we are asking one more question for now. So if the parents can provide the information, they can log in through the BCSC. They are going to be asked these questions. If they reply yes, I have a social insurance number, there is a small new question that says, how many parents do you live with? That's going to be, let us define, like we need to ask information for 1 or 2 parents. So let's go for 2. Everything else is the same. Financial information is populated just to be fast. So we are submitting an application again, student portal. That's Jack, by the way. And Jack has 2 parents that provide support information. Submitting. Bear with us a little bit. And it's done. So now Jack has an application submitted. That's all that Jack's going to be doing today. I'm going to log off for this portal. I'm going to briefly show how the workflow looks like. Don't need to be like concerned about too many details, but there is a way to find the application that you just submitted. And the workflow grow a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in, but this area here is new. So I can say that the application is starting and we are executing process in parallel. We are checking if the student needs a PIR. We need to check the student income. We need to check if the student has partner or if the student has parents. So zoom in a little bit. That's what I'm talking about. This is going to happen at the same time of this, and this. What's going to happen? We are going to go to CRA to check for the student income. This part is done. It is integrated. We are just skipping that on the demo and on dev environment to speed up the things a little bit, but the CRA is happening. We are generating the files, going to CRA and back. That is valid for student, for partners, and for partners and parents. If you don't have a partner, nothing happens. If you have a parent, you are a dependent, we are going to do two different processes. We are going to create a kind of slot to receive the parent one information if there is one parent. If there are two parents, we are going to create two slots. So the process is now with this little 1 and 1 here. It means that the process is stopped waiting for the parent to provide information. So in the main workflow, we are still in this top area waiting for the parents to provide data. And the workflow is going to be stopped there. So now we are going to show what the parent needs to do to make this little number 1 advance. When both parents provided information, the little ones here are just going to move on, and the workflow is going to advance. So we are switching now. This is the student portal. We have something else called supporting users portal. The name is like what it is right now, but it's basically support information for student applications. And what it is again a new login page with the BC service card. We are going to be providing parent 1 information. The name is going to be Tamara. Just logging as a parent that has a BC service card. So here's the welcome page. The waving lady is here, and the parents or partners just needed to identify themselves as a parent. I am a parent or I am a partner for that particular application. I can be a partner for one application, a parent in another application. But like for the application that I'm going to be supporting, providing the supporting data, this one I was told that I was a parent. So now I needed the information from the application that I'm going to be submitting the data. The 3 pieces of information needed: my number of the application, the student last name, and the date of birth. So here, because I selected the parent information, I'm going to be present with the specific form, the information needed for that parent. Everything down there, review your profile, and then here, could be changed by program year. So that application belongs to one specific program year that contains those specific questions. So the parent need provides his information. The reading-only information comes from the BC source card in the same way that comes for a student. So let me grab some information like the SIM number. And here we are not running any validations other than required for now. That is the information that is also fully customized. Everything here could be changed by program year. And right now, what we are doing, we are just checking the income in the CRA. So I need to provide all the information, but I just gonna provide something here. Everything is required. We have the validations in place in the same way as the other ones. So nice error messages everywhere. There are places to add dependents also. Not gonna be doing that right now. Here, and that's it. So basically the first parent provided the information and it's done. His work is done. Nothing else is needed for that particular application. And if you check back the workflow, if you remember before, we have like number 1 here and number 1 here. So now the number 1 that was here went through the CRA verification. It was quick because we are simulating, but it is integrated. It works. It was done in previous sprints. And our goal now is this number 1 comes here. You're not going to see that because once these number 1s move, and the entire flow is going to move into the end. But the application is still waiting for the second parent. And we can do that, but we can't do that with the same user because it's not going to allow us to provide this information again. So I need a second parent. And the second parent is going to be Cindy. So it's going to be the same process from before. So I'm just going to, quickly populate the data. That's the second parity, logging. And now the SIM number. This form is also customizable per program year. Remember, the goal is just to release the workflow from the second parent now. Here we go, my work is done. And if I go to the workflow again, just a second. Just reloading. Now those numbers that were like stuck at waiting in the upper part, they came all the way down. Here, calculated assessment, award, did all the work, and it's waiting here. So basically the parents part is done. The similar flow, exactly similar one's gonna happen also for the partners, just the questions are different. So basically we were able to submit the application. The parents were able to provide the information. Everything that we provide in that form, we have access to the workflow to make decisions and advance. Now, both students and parents are using the service card authentication. So the parent that is today providing information for a student application can tomorrow also be a student. Can be like next year, can be now. So what we did, the user from PC service card, it is the same, but the parent is the parent. The partner is the parent, is the partner. They are going to be providing information over and over again for each application. But if they want to be a student, they can use the same credential because they are a PC service card user and just became a student. The parent that I used was not a student. It was never a student. So if you remember from the previous sprints, when a student logs in the portal for the first time, first thing that he needs to do is provide information as a student now. So basically the system consider like a parent and partner different from a student. So we're just gonna use it like a test scene number here, but just showing that a student can be a partner, a parent, and the user is going to be the same. So now I am a student. I can come to application, I can start new application, and just because I am logged in with the SABC source card, I can switch between both applications. So I can be a partner, a parent, or a student. Same user, but different entities in our system. And I believe, Michelle, that that is all. We have like a few other validations that we're not going to be showing, but because the users share the same SABC source card, a student cannot provide information as a parent or partner for its own application. We are validating that. The parents, partners cannot provide information twice. So the same user can provide information for different applications, but not for the same application. So once your work is done, there will be like messages saying you cannot provide data, supporting data again for the same application. And the application was expecting 2 parents. If 3 parents try to provide information, it's not going to work. If the application is waiting for 1 partner, only 1 partner is going to be able to provide the information also. So those validations are running in the backend. It's a little bit extensive to show everything, but like the gist, I believe that
is a very good introduction. We really appreciate your hard work on that one, Signori.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Some questions coming in that we've been taking note of. We're actually going to pass the mic over to Anne, who's going to show us the process of editing application and our auto log off feature.
Yeah, hi team. Good morning. So first I will be showing how to edit an application, how student can edit an application. So here I have login to student portal. This is the student application. So for the demo purpose, I have created a new application. This is my application number. Searching for the application. This is my application. So this student has created this application. This application is in progress status. So a student can edit their application that is like in between submitted and completed status. So if the application is submitted, in progress, enrollment or assessment, they can edit the application. So whenever they try to edit an application, they can edit the application by clicking here. So whenever they try to edit an application, they will be having this warning box. It will be saying that this will result in a new assessment, which could cause delay in your application. Are you sure you want to proceed? If they click yes, they will be redirected to their edit application, which will be having this all the information that they have submitted already. And if they want to come here and if they want to change any of the data, they can change it, and they can come here and they can submit the application. So here one thing is that if the existing application is not in draft, then they can't save the application in draft state. They can only resubmit the application. So when they click the application, so before clicking this application, I would like to show something else. So since this application was an in progress state, this application has an assessment that is running. So when I go to the Kamunda here, and when I search for this application, you can see this. There is an application assessment ID. So the existing application had an assessment workflow which was running. So what happens when I edit and submit the application is like this: the already existing workflow will be deleted, and a new workflow will be created for it from start. So here I am submitting the application. And again, when I'm submitting the application, I will be again having this warning box. It will be again saying that this will be resulting in a new assessment, and which it will be causing delay in my application. And if the student select yes, It will resubmit the application. Now when I go to my database and when I check, you can see here my last number was like 492. When I refresh it, a new entry has been created for the same application. And if you see here, both applications will have the same application number, and the previous application status will be overwritten, and the new application will be created. And if you search for the previous workflow in Camunda, let me refresh it. It won't be found because the previous application, it was deleted and a new assessment was created. If you search this application, this assessment ID, you will see that a new assessment has been created. So this is how a student will edit their application. Yeah. And going to the refresh logic. So now we have introduced this refresh token in our application. So earlier, like we didn't had a logic to refresh the auth token. So now we will be refreshing the auth token like before 3 minutes, 3 minutes before the auth token is expired. And also we have introduced this ideal time. So if any of the application, like any of the portal is idle for like 4.5 minutes, more than 4.5 minutes, then this warning will be shown to them, and this warning box will be shown to them, and it will be asking whether do you want to extend that time, and or you want to like logged off. So if they click no, the application will be logged off, and if they want to extend that time, then they need to click yes, and there will be a counter starting from 30 to 0, and if they don't click any yes or no, it will be automatically logged off. So this is a screenshot of this.
So to confirm, they have 5 minutes. Anne, is that right?
Yeah, for greater than 4.5 minutes.
If they haven't moved their mouse or touched a key, they have 5 minutes. Otherwise, it'll be automatically logged off.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's it, Michelle.
Awesome. Thanks. I hope there's been a lot of chatter about the parent partner stuff. And I know there's a ton of edge cases to do with that. I also just wanted to remind the room that we as a project team have to think relative to the time we have to release a minimal viable product. And so that is June 2022. And so right now we are focusing on the main process to get the main things built. And then we will have time to address edge cases, enhancements, other scenarios. But I just wanted to remind you that we have to get the foundation built first before we can enhance it. So I hope we can give our attention to Dheepak, who's going to flip us over to the institution world and show us quickly primary contact.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Let me take over the screen. So yeah, I hope everyone can see my screen. And so this is the institution dashboard, and I'm gonna get into manage institution, where I have all the institution locations listed out. So this is all about getting in the values for the primary contact of the institution locations. So the placeholders, whether the APIs were now enhanced to bring in the information. So what you're seeing here is the in primary contact details of an institution location. And basically, when you try to edit this, you have the primary contact details listed out here. So you can just say John 1 and something of that sort and edit it. And all of these fields are free text fields, and there is no validation to it for now. And when I'm gonna submit on that, so yes, it becomes John 1 David. So it's editable. And also this is a part of the add new location screen as well. So yeah, that's everything from me. And over to you, Michelle.
Thanks, Deepak. I hope everyone caught that. We're able to just add some free text to who the primary contact is as the institution. Now we're going to flip over to ministry user views. So we started with student, we went to institution viewers. Now we're going to ministry user stuff. So Guru's going to show us the welcome page and then also how to search for a student account.
Hello team. Yeah. So previously in our previous demos, like you might have seen, like as soon as the ministry user logs in, like he did not have a welcome page, but now we have just created it. So that is a part of it. This is, and as soon as the ministry user clicks on the student search, sorry, okay. He or she will be getting a search students, this dialog box where he or she can able to search with respect to the application number, the first or the given name or the last name. So until you enter something here, like something here, this will not be enabled. And also, like for example, you can search, and it's kind of an I would say, like, it searches into the name. So for example, we can just search for students whose first name starts with or contains A, something like that. Or you can just go to a particular student's last name. You can just go and just search for it, and you'll be getting the particular student's name. And as soon as you click on this view, it'll redirect, but this is still in progress. It'll redirect to the particular student's applications which he or she has submitted. So coming back to this, okay, you did not see it, I guess. So if you just give some unwanted searches, or like if the student's criteria is not met and if there are no students, then you'll get a pop-up saying like no student found for this given criteria. And yeah, that's it, I guess. So you can just search with a combination of given name and last name to be so particular about the students to search for it. And that is searching a student in the ministry portal page. Back to you, Michelle.
Great. Thanks, Guru. Nice and simple. First name, last name, application number. I'm going to take back the screen just for a second and just show you that for the time auto log off, there's some extra information posted here if that's helpful to you or for reference later. Now I'm going to take us over to the user design team, and Lynn's going to give us an update on the institution usability testing that was conducted this past sprint, some enhancements to our programs and offerings, and what's up next for usability. Take it away, Lynn.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Hi, everyone. Just 1 second to set up my screen here. So as Michelle mentioned, we ran usability sessions for this sprint. We talked with our institution users, which is always the best part of our job, I would say. So for this, we focused on the education programs area, which included logging in, seeing the dashboard, and also the navigation. What we did was that we had institutions participants log into our test website where they were able to use it. And we gave them a task, and a task kind of sounds like, can you go ahead and create an education program? And what we do is that we ask them to talk out loud, and as they're navigating, they kind of helps us understand their thought process and where the barriers are so that we can enable the self-service as well. So the outcomes of that is that we found that they logged in with ease, they understood the navigation and how it's structured, they were able to find what they needed. And I think that the feedback was, oh yeah, it's just like a login, typical login modern system approach, right? So I think they were quite familiar with that. There were a few bugs, but that's devs. They know what's causing that. They're just missing features that haven't been built yet. But I would say the biggest takeaway for UX, there are a few things, but I think the biggest one that landed with us is that it's not clear what the program info or the program IA, sometimes as the business refers to, and what the study period offerings, what will be displayed to students. So overall, there were a few hiccups that were non-critical, but I would say that one was kind of the one that thematically kept coming up over and over. And so that was one that we looked at. Yeah, I would say overall, the majority of the participants rated the experience as intuitive. They liked how seemingly fast it was to approve a program, but of course, the UX work is not done yet. So as Michelle had mentioned as well, as part of this sprint, we also made an enhancements to education programs, which included our user findings and also business requirements. So I'm going to flip over to, instead of just reading what the improvements are, I'm actually going to flip over to the wireframes and show you the business requirements that we included in the sprint and also the outcomes that came out from our user testing with our institutions. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you that with our prototype here. So what are you looking at? You're looking at the form for creating a new program. On the left-hand side, you see there's big, bold, red, new. Those are all business requirements. And on the right, there are the ones in orange or yellowy orange. Those are all outcomes from our usability labs. And so for the business end of things, working with Haley, we've updated credential type, program code, things like that. I'm not going to go through all of this with you just because we have a short bit of time here. But anything with new here, we've added that in to just update the per policy requirements, entrance requirements, things like that. And so I'm just going to go and flip over to the study period offerings to show you what that is. Once you submit, you kind of end up on the program detail page where it says your program now has been submitted. And now you can add a study period. So I'm going to just go ahead and add to show that. So the study period page here, I'm not going to go through all of the business requirements, but one thing I would like to highlight is really we've added year of program here, which ends up being a drop-down list year 1 to year 9. What we found in the usability sessions as well is that we tested with privates and institutions. And I think going into it, we've heard from our team here, the SMEs here, that privates do set up their program differently in terms of they don't really use year of program. And so how UX is kind of thinking about is, okay, let's provide that year of program, year 1 to year 9. However, if you don't want to display that to students, we can, if you check this, you can display the year to students. If you don't check it, then the year won't be displayed to students for privates, right? And so the outcome of that is that the offering name kind of looks like that, 22 Winter Co-op. Institutions can name that whatever they'd like. From the usability sessions, we heard back that that was awesome. They love the name area where they can define their own name. That works perfectly for private and public. So that's, I think, a really big win for us that we can provide that for them. They're really happy to see that. And then here we see the study dates and then the year, if they do choose to show that year as well. So that, again, will work for privates and publics as well. Just moving along, we also added a work and learning component, some other sections here. The biggest one here, I would say, is study breaks. So we've updated that to include an additional functionality to add more study breaks if they wish to. And then we included some business rules from policy as well in this update here. From the user testing as well, institutions love that they can copy and paste in their dates in the calendar widget, or they can also type in the dates as they wish. So it's and I would say kudos to devs for this because this is offering flexibility in terms of the user experience. The institutions are likely going to copy and paste from an Excel document into our system. And I think what the devs have provided are really great in that. So we've got good feedback around that as well. Moving down, Just to show you the rest of the page, we've added some declaration at the bottom of also the program and also the study period offerings page as well. So that is a few of the updates. I think, again, the biggest takeaway from the user testing was that institutions weren't sure what would be displayed to students. And so in thinking of the MVP lens, what is a solution that we can provide for institutions on that end? So we're using a bit more text to help guide the institution. So students up here, you'll see students will be able to add program name or see the program name, description, etc. But of course, we just have to balance this a little bit, not to overwhelm the interface too much with text, keeping in mind that there's also going to be training material. So as we're envisioning the design, we're thinking of all the different steps the institution members will also go through. There's going to be training material, they're going to end up here, they've used the system, they find it intuitive. And so there's going to be just little help text around this just to kind of help them out there. And I would say that we've also reorganized the sections a little bit. So, or sorry, not the sections, but the questions. So you'll notice that how this question here, how will this be delivered? That used to be on the bottom, but just reorganized it so that it's kind of on the top fold so that it actually mirrors the program record or the program information page as well. So there's a bit of, for those items that are in the program record and also in the study period offerings, if there's a connection, we're just kind of reorganizing it so they're all kind of on like the top fold. And so that kind of helps create a nice connection point there for the institutions. But yeah,
Awesome.
that's it. I'm going to end it there. So
thank you so much, Lynn.
Yeah.
So Lynn received a spreadsheet of business requirements, and then has since with Roop conducted usability testing. And all of those requirements got filtered through Elise and drafted here. And I'm just so pleased at how quickly you were able to gather that feedback and implement it, Lynn. And then also our plan is to have the devs build these enhancements next sprint. That's pretty exciting. Next, we're going to have Roop walk us through some of the other applications. I know we're throwing a lot at you guys today. Thank you for staying with us.
Yeah, don't fall asleep, guys. Okay, all right, ready? Here we
Roop
go.
will wake us up.
So yeah, so for this one, I wanted to present the work we did on the Pacific Leaders loan forgiveness program, as well as the BC loan forgiveness program. So we kicked this off with looking at the current process and how it works. So if you guys remember this, maybe some of you have filled this out in the past, I don't know. It's this form. And once you enter this form, you tell us, you log into the system where you've already entered your information, you enter your information again. We're gonna minimize that. So just at a high level of how this is going to work out is you'd confirm your personal information, which you've already have in your account. Then you're going to confirm your employee information, employer information, just to make sure we can find you in the systems that exist for us to look you up. And then you declare that, yes, I agree to potential audits and verification. Now, on the ministry side of things, they're just going to view that information as it comes in. But the kind of biggest distinction we want to make clear here is that, you know, we have systems in place that currently do this, and this is kind of that let's call it you know, conversation that happens every time we want to think through a new feature, a new application, a new thing in our application, and that is we have our deadline of MVP, and we know that we need to deliver value for that date, but we also realize that if we deliver something fully end to end, in this case, all of those extra systems that this would touch, do we deliver those right now at the MVP stage, or do we figure out an interim solution, deliver the feature that so it works for users, and then maybe have to do a little bit more manual processing to allow for us to hit that deadline? This is one of those cases. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to allow the student to fill this out. They'll submit it to us. Staff are going to view it. And all of the eligibility stuff, all the data entry stuff that they would normally do in the systems that they would normally do it is going to continue. And then what that also frees up is the communication side of things would happen through those other applications that currently already exist. And all of the other extra work, such as, coming back on the anniversary date and ensuring that, when we need to reconfirm their employment, that happens again to those external systems. Once we get to the point where we can turn off the taps for those other systems, that's when we're going to start seeing a little bit more screens within our applications to ensure that we can enter all this stuff more magically, let's say, less data entry. And so that's where we're at with both of these applications. So just to show you how that is going to look is here. So if you remember, previously we showed you a screen that showed you all of the other applications that are going to exist in our system. And within that, you're going to see the Pacific Leaders Loan Forgiveness Program. So just to show you what the start page would look like, it gives you a bit of a heads up about requirements and eligibility. It would link you out to the relevant pages on SABC's website. And then just ensure that you have these key pieces of information. You would click Start. On here, you could see your personal information and again, review your profile rather than entering, which is a big win for the student side. And then as you scroll down, you'll see, okay, a few key questions that we need to know to go through, and that's who's your employer ID, your ministry name if applicable. Hit next. You'd review that information and declare that you are who you say you are and you're okay with the data collection as per privacy laws, and then hit next to submit. Now, this is interesting new stuff that we can think about, and that is for a full-time and part-time student loan application, you've got a lot of statuses, a lot of through sections of things that we're going to do within our system, a lot of different gates, so to speak. So for this one, once the user submits it, it sits in progress mode or in progress status until ministry have reviewed it. So the ministry staff are going to view this on their side of things and then go ahead and enter it into the systems that they would normally do it. And once that's done, they're going to mark it as processed rather than a lot of different gates within this. They're just going to mark it as, yes, I data entered it into the external systems, done. And then from that stage, they'll see this as complete. And so from the flip side of the ministry view, so when it's in progress, it's going to say the application is awaiting processing. Please confirm this application's eligibility and mark it as processed once you've entered into ICI, the correct systems that you're going to be using. And then once you're complete, you'd hit mark as processed and you'd see this status down here, which is application is complete. The external StudentAid BC applications will handle further communication with the student. Of course, if they call you, that's a little bit different, but the general kind of information that gets sent out will continue to be sent out for now. And then on this page, when they're reviewing it, you can just see all the data that was entered. And if we flick back to the other application, which is the BC loan forgiveness, it's a very similar process. The only difference here is we have the ability for students to actually upload their employment letter. This is the big key piece. It holds a lot of information for us to confirm their eligibility. So they would upload here. They would select their designation, their profession basically, and then any practitioner numbers specifically for physicians or midwives. And again, at the top of this, it's reviewing your profile rather than data entering. So you'd hit next. Again, confirm all that information is true and that you agree to verify that data. And again, these are just showing you the statuses that they would see. So in progress, no need to stick around. We'll let you know when we're done with your application. And then complete. Complete in this state, whether they're confirmed to be eligible or denied eligible, it's just going to be shown as complete in this. You're going to be contacted with further updates from StudentAid BC later. So that's how we're handling these in the short term. In the long term states of things, we want to see all of those. You've been approved, you've been denied, all of the I need to resubmit my employment letter for the next anniversary date to ensure that I can continue getting this loan forgiveness. All of that will come into our system, but for now, external systems in the meantime. So that's how we're handling a few of these other applications. So I look forward to seeing these further enhancements as we continue sprinting. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Roop. Yeah, so we're just for MVP working on the front end, but the process will be the same on the back end. So no change there. Lisa, do you have time to quickly walk us through disbursement? And by the way, huge milestone. This is what we're getting to. We need to get the disbursement file out. So this is our main focus. Take it away.
Okay, so this is a basic workflow for disbursements that can happen midpoint and will begin start of program and midpoint. Student submits their application for a loan. It's assessed as needing more than $1. And then we look at the study start date. Is it greater than the current date? If not, the system assigns the current date as the first disbursement date. If it is, the system assigns the study start date as the first disbursement date. We're going to look at the program length. If it's greater than or equal to 17 weeks, then there would be one disbursement and they'd get 100% of their eligible funds. If it's longer than 17 weeks, they would determine the date of the midpoint disbursement by taking the days in the study period and dividing by 2 and then adding it to the start date. Then we look at whether the first disbursement date is greater than that midpoint date that we calculated. If it's later than that midpoint date, then their disbursements are rolled into that single payment again. If not, is the midpoint date greater than the current date? If it's not, then the second disbursement date is equal to the current date, and we would go to calculate the disbursements amount. If the second disbursement date is, if the midpoint date is greater than the current date, then the second disbursement date would be the midpoint date. And then we have a table that's used to calculate the disbursements when there are 2. First disbursement, 100% of the Canada Student Loan funds for full-time or part-time are dispersed, with 50% of Canada Student Grants. These below full-time and part-time show the stacking order. They're all divided by 2. So if they're not getting anything, then obviously it would be 0, but this shows the order in which calculation is looked at. And then 50% of all of the BC loan grants that they would be eligible for would also go out. There's a note at the bottom that if this first disbursement is less than 50% of the dispersed funds, then they look at taking some of the BC student loan money to top it up to 50%. So second disbursement typically is 100% of the BC student loan, and that other 50% of the Canada Student Grant and 50% of any of the BC grants that they're eligible for. And that's the student would be notified of what the dates are for disbursement on their well, we would let them know what their disbursement dates are using this calculation.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for all your analysis on this. So what's going to happen is the devs are going to take this, I believe, next sprint and put this into our rules engine so it auto-magically spits out that disbursement per the rules in the scheduler. Did you have any updates around the survey that's been sent out, Lisa?
Yeah, survey went out, satisfaction surveys went out to the institutions and also our users, staff users, and we'll be using those as metrics for comparing our older systems that we're using with the new system when it launches. We've had really great response to those so far, so looking forward to
and just to confirm, when we're filling out the survey, we should be focusing on current state.
Exactly.
Got it. Awesome. Thanks so much, Lisa. So we have a ton of questions. And Elise, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you want to try and answer some of those now? or would you like to take them away and bring them back to the business review with our answers?
Oh, good
Just
question.
because we have 4 minutes to the hour.
Yeah. I think perhaps most of the conversation can be centered perhaps at our next mod business check-in. But just to clarify, so we've got questions about parent and partner and how are we asking and all that kind of stuff. So we can go over that again. We've got quite a lengthy discussion about the use of SIN number to search, which I know is a current practice. And at this point, we've been working under the assumption that that practice is not recommended best practice. But interesting to hear that potentially other program areas are doing it. And again, just because they're doing it doesn't mean that they're doing it in compliance with privacy. So that that's something we can look into. I'm just scrolling through. So my suggestion would be, of course, then there was the question about parent. Who is a parent? And I would look to our policy folks to help make sure that we answer that. And of course, do whatever we can to give better direction to students. At this point, we've allowed for 2 spots for a parent. If policy tells us we need 3 or 17 or whatever, of course, we'd be happy to make adjustments to that. So we just need to help give the student direction on who is defined as a parent, who should you be giving this information to, and who should be providing that. So that'll be helpful. So I'm thinking that maybe for today, I've tried to answer, I think, as much as we can of some of the other, maybe I should say more simple questions. Tried to answer some of those.
There's a bit of background noise. I've been scrolling through to see who's unmuted, but I can't find anyone. So if that's you, if you could kindly mute.
Yeah, and it's probably just me scrolling through, or my son in the background. Sorry. So, yeah, I feel like that maybe is a good discussion for us as the mod business check-in, but just want to check in with anybody. Is there anything that you really need urgently answered today? It feels like, no, this one can't wait. Or if you'd like us to do some research so that we can come back to you with answers on next Wednesday.
Okay, so we will gather the questions and group them together and make sure that we have answers for you next Wednesday. If you have any other questions about any of these processes, be sure to send us an email to the mod email or to myself or to Elise, and we'll make sure that we bring those forward to you next Wednesday. And then before we let you go, we can quickly show you, I'll share my screen, what's up next for Sprint 20. Can you even believe it?
Yeah, it's busy. As you can see, we're in a really critical point. So lots of effort being focused on disbursement, making sure we get through disbursement. Lots of effort being focused now on the ministry user experience, which of course includes not only SABC staff, but our colleagues at Ministry of Finance and TBTB as well. And of course, we're looking broader than just the full-time and part-time application. So we're starting to look at those other digital applications as well. So not surprisingly, you'll see some of the goals that we'll be looking at is we've shown you some design for those program and offering enhancements, but we need to build them in the new system. We need to build some of these other pieces around the student experience and that disbursement schedule. We need to build some more of that ministry user experience. We're going to be looking to actually reaching out and planning to do some usability with students, which is super exciting. Real students that have said they want to be involved, which is great. We're starting to think now about UAT, and just to flag for folks that UAT, what does that look like in an agile environment, and how is that different than what we've been doing, and how do we give people access to try some things out and to provide feedback on that as well. And of course, we do need to focus on building out what's currently referred to as the tuition waiver and YEEF, but those are going to be consolidated into a single application around tuition waiver and former youth in care. So we will be focused on that next sprint. And we've still got some work to do around reassessment. There's lots of work to be done. So as you can see, lots of scope items, and we're very busy. And I will just flag for folks that we are absolutely at a point now where we're starting to really articulate some of those scope items and starting to make some of those really difficult decisions about perhaps some of those things need to wait because we absolutely need to get key piece items in. So just want to recognize and acknowledge that lots of suggestions and ideas, and we capture all of them, but that we're really going to have to prioritize with the goal of us going live in June. Of course, that's not just a goal. I would say that that's our task to accomplish that, but that also means that we need to go live for institutions before that. And at this point, we've talked about institutions having access to a real life production environment by about April in order for them to get their programs and offerings ready. So I think all of you are starting to feel it. I know I had a bit of a shock when I realized it's November already. So we're really in that last part of the run, trying to make those really difficult decisions and just managing that. Just a reminder for folks that when we talk about the MVP, it's not like, okay, we've delivered in June and we all walk away. That's not it at all. And I'm going to bring back to folks a revised roadmap next week where we're just a reminder that we're delivering in June, but the next plan for phase 2 is November of next year, so 5 months after that. And phase 3 is scheduled right now for March of 2023, so 5 months after that. So this isn't over, it's just beginning in June, and there's going to be so much more. So just a reminder for folks. I don't know, Stuart, if that kind of covered off what you wanted to flag or.
Well, yeah, it kind of did, because I was just wondering, like, it's great that we're going through to this MVP, but there, as you're hearing in a lot of these meetings, a lot of those edge scenarios. And so it would be kind of nice to hear, like, okay, we hear and we see that there is this edge criteria. Where does it fit into next phase? Or is there an emergency phase just in case it's going to impact a certain number of students? And then I think that hearing that from a business perspective, I myself would be like, okay, it's been heard, it's been planned for, we're good to go. So I think maybe hearing a little bit more about that in the future would be helpful, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, yep. So we got to figure some of that stuff out. And I hear that, because what I hear is the passion to make sure that we don't leave students behind and that you can answer the questions and support students. And we absolutely hear and acknowledge that. And so how do we do that and build a minimum viable product that isn't going to be everything that our system is now? Our system is an amazing system. It does amazing things, and it has been refined and developed over decades. And so this is a big change. And so how do we manage during that transition and minimize as much as we can the disruption for students? But I can't promise you that everything's going to be perfect. But how can we find ways to get through that? And that is absolutely part of the discussion now. Around some of that change management and supporting each other and of course, most importantly, supporting students as we get through.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Elise.
Thanks. I did just want to flag, I forgot to mention that just a reminder that we've talked about the end-to-end scenarios, and just so you know, we are recording them. We've got a couple of them done. Big thanks to Katie, who's taken on the lead in that area and working with some different folks to start recording them so that you can start to see and experience, because I totally appreciate that we move through this really quickly every third Wednesday and we show you a flash. But trying to see it in context is really difficult. And so it is our goal over the next couple of weeks to do more of those recordings. At this point, we're focusing on the institution user because that's the most of them being done, where you can see 2-3 minute videos of different parts of functionality. And also we're starting to talk about how do we give you access to a practice environment. It's not that easy. So we're trying to find some solutions there so that you can try some different things. It might have to be with someone else driving just because of access. But we're definitely heard what you've said about really important to get a better understanding of that and what we can do to support you better. So thank you.
Thanks, Elise. So just to recap, we will bring these questions back to Business Check-in next Wednesday, and we look forward to having some good conversation then. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.